Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to our today's CX Forum webinar about change that puts customers first, aligning culture, people, and experience. It's again really nice to have global audience, people joining us all around the world. And as we always start these webinars, that I'm sending greetings from Finland, and actually all of us today, all the webinar team sends greetings from Finland. And we are always excited to know that where is our audience sending greetings from. So please, let's get our fingers warmed up right on the chat. Where are you sending us greetings from? So greetings from Finland, and where are you joining us? Greetings back to Norway. That's nice to see. Greetings back to Sweden as well. We have a very Nordic audience today, it looks like this. Also outside of Europe, to South Africa, England. Oh, that's nice to see. Spain, very nice. So great to see. We indeed have again bunch of people already on board and from all around the world. But now that we have this fingers warmed up and great feeling inside, and let's get started, kick it off. We have only 45 minutes today. So let's get started with quick housekeeping. I am Eveli Kaasiko, and I'm your host today. And at my everyday work, I am CMO at Feedbackly. And together today, I have with me Kari Korkiakoski and Kristian Stolt. So welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Always a pleasure to be here.
Nice. And it's great to have you both here today. So, and to your audience, good to know that we're right now starting with quick introductions, doing some housekeeping, but then shortly we'll move on to presentations. And after 2 presentations, we'll have time for Q&A as well. We should have nice time there for Q&A. So whenever you have questions, please write them to the chat already during the webinar so that I can then take, and we can then take these questions from the chat in the Q&A section. Also, just a reminder that this webinar is recorded, just like they always are, right? So that you can share this replay recording also with your colleagues afterward. And it will be sent to you over email during this week still. So, but let's talk about the speakers as well, a few words. So, first about Kari. Kari will be our today's first speaker. And Kari is a writer, CEO and partner of Futurelab Experience. Kari is one of Finland's leading customer experience development experts. He has a broad business perspective and passion for customer experience that has made him also a very respected influencer in the field. He has authored 4 books, written hundreds of blog articles, and delivered dozens of keynote speakers on customer experience development. And in addition to providing consulting services, Kari has also co-founded new businesses and served on the boards of several companies, ensuring that customers' voice is included in decision-making. So welcome, Kari. Please feel free to share a couple of words if you would like to add anything, or and also please tell us a few words also about what will you be telling us today at this webinar.
Thank you, Eveli. Pleasure to be here. 15 years in full-time customer experience consulting. So I can imagine that I try to kind of summarize some of the findings. Why becoming customer-centric is a challenge. That seems to be the issue. The change management seems to be the issue. So that is my topic for today. But otherwise, unfortunately, most of the books are in Finnish. One of the books is translated in English, and it can be found from Amazon from the page 2579 or whatever. It's just next to the hidden bodies somewhere there.
All right, but actually, maybe we can share your English book also with the audience in the follow-up email, the link to Amazon, so that they can find it. That might be nice even. And then also we have today here with us Kristian. Kristian is the CEO of Feedbackly and one of head coaches at CX Academy. Kristian and his team have helped many industry leaders across the world succeed with their CX programs and become CX frontrunners. And among the many, Kristian and his team have helped, for example, the city of Helsinki, Merck, Innovasport, the Australian government, Stockmann, Mauricio, and the list could go on and on and on. And I know that some of your current customers might even be on board right now at this webinar. So welcome, Kristian, and please feel free to share any words about you, and also please tell us with 1-2 sentences, what will you tell us? We'll be speaking today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Eveli, and you summarized it pretty well. So helping dozens or tens of companies throughout the years on a global level, trying to get the most out of their customer experience programs, mainly focusing on the data approach and how to utilize data to actually make a change in organizations that also show for the customers. So a topic like customer centricity is something we talk about with our customers a lot. And I'm really excited to get to, well, Kari will deep dive into the topic, and I will follow up with, let's say, more tangible and concrete examples and goals on how kind of to get started and what are the key elements to keep in mind when you slowly start to kind of transforming yourself to be more customer centric, and actually benefit from that change as well. So moving into more actionable parts today in my part of the presentation.
That's good. Okay, but hey, let's move on quickly. Just some of our audience is still new, so quickly telling also about CX Forum, that the organizer of this event is CX Forum. It is a non-profit customer experience community, global community, and our goal is just to share CX knowledge and spark race discussions to help businesses create happier customers all around the world. And in addition to webinars, we do also much more, of course. But I would also like to bring out this time that if you have any good speaker candidates or you have great story to share yourself, please feel free to contact us. And we are always happy to take great webinar topic ideas, speaker ideas, and so on. But let's move on. And now everybody knows a little bit about us, but it would be great to learn also about their audience. I will post 2 polls now. The first one is, what is your role? And the second one is, why has your employer decided to invest in customer experience? So these topics or these 2 questions help us to talk about more relevant topics for you. And actually, I will post the third one as well. And this is also a simple one. What would you most like to learn today? So we know this culture change topic covers actually different areas. So it would be interesting to know what are your feelings and thoughts, what you would most like to learn today. We will come back to the full poll answers after presentations. So please give your answers there while right now and during presentations then. But let's move on and jump to the presentations then. So Kari, please, we will then free the stage to you, and we're excited to learn more than what you have to share with us today.
Thank you, Eveli. Well, my slide is like roughly kind of 10 minutes. I have so much slides here. So let's see what's going to happen in my presentation. But hopefully I'm kind of capable of summarizing some key findings. I said 15 years back of the experience in customer experience consultancy. First thing that is still kind of relevant, I think it is really important for you in your organization to have a shared understanding what customer experience really means for you and your organization. What kind of experiences you want to create for your customers? This is something that is really important. We see so often that the management has different views of customer experience. They don't have a shared understanding. Internally, typically companies talk about we need to be effective. Yes, that is really important, how we create value for customers. And in the age of digitalization, easiness is something really relevant. But customers expect it to be easy. It is easy to buy. It is easy to make a complaint. It is easy to be in touch. So that is expected. But I would like to challenge you and your organization to think of the emotional side of the experience. What kind of emotions you want to create for your customers? That is something that is typically forgotten. Don't focus only on the easiness, effectiveness, create a community that customers can meet each other. That is a way of creating the emotions also. But think of the goals. What kind of emotions you really want to create for your customers? That is a good starting point when defining the vision of customer experience. In Futurelab, we've done a 3 years ago, we've done a kind of a current analysis of customer experience among our audience. In 3 years, we've got roughly between 60 to 90 answers each year for our survey. There are various questions in the survey. Some of the questions from our survey are here with you as a polls, so we can see also your view on the same topics that we have in our survey. But just kind of summarizing the relevant question, what are the biggest challenges that these organizations find around customer experience development? And each and every year, the winning challenge has been to change management. These organizations, they want to become more customer-centric, but it is not that easy. It is difficult, in fact. And the change management issue has become stronger. So it's clearly the winning challenge that organizations are facing, the change management. And when we ask from the audience, what is the reasoning behind this challenge? We got a lot of answers, and we summarized the verbatims into 8 different headlines. This is not in any order here. These all are relevant findings. This is not in any order. Yes, there is the culture issue, deep-rooted organizational practices, clearly a big challenge. How to become customer-centric, how to change the culture. Changing culture takes 5 to 7 years. Siloed organization. Typical issue is that silos are managed with different KPIs. The rewarding is organized by silos. There's no shared vision. From our experience in Futurelab, leadership commitment is the one and the most important thing. Be sure to have a leadership commitment. That might make the difference. Yes, organizations are reactive. There's no lack of consistency. Processes are tools. Organizations spend so much time defining the processes. We've seen so many companies spending so much time defining the processes, and it is really important. Of course, it is important to change the process to become more customer-centric. But typically, they forgot to define the customer moments, the customer interface, the moment when we meet the customer. What happens there? That is forgotten too often. Yes, we need to coordinate change and typical change management issues, of course. And yes, organizations, they think that they know their customer. They think, but they really don't know. And that's why we need to look into the change program from the outside in. So these are the major challenges that these organizations that responded to our survey, they found. Looking back to the 3 years, when summarizing from our perspective, from our experience, what should be prioritized in customer experience development? First, anticipate problems. We already know from customer feedback what are the kind of major challenges. We already know quite a lot. So let's start from there, prioritize, and let's consider alternative solutions in advance. That would help us to tackle some of the key issues faster, because we need also to have fast results. Make a business case. It's a surprise how rarely we see a business case. And when we talk about business case, typically the answer is loyalty, for example, better price, better margin, something like that. But let's not forget the savings. Savings could be the opportunity. Savings are the headline that CFO really loves. So let's also think of the potential savings that we can make the business case kind of around. Make it concrete. Yes. We need to concretize, prioritize the strategy into practical actions into daily operations. What is the kind of a memorable experiences that we create for our customers? That is the issue. It's not just about easiness. What is the memorable moment, the way of creating really the feeling, the emotion for our customers? That creates the loyalty. Engage. We need to engage the whole organization, starting from the vision defining. Let's define the vision together with all our employees. Let's take the responsibility to the customer interface, to the people that are really having the everyday actions and interaction with customers. Those are the key issues. These 4 are the key elements when you want to make the change happen. We also hear the question, where should we start from? Do we start from the vision, or do we start from the customer communication, customer interactions? Well, both are relevant, of course. We can start to make the business case starting from today, kind of taking care of the customer feedback, having a detractor, making a detractor a promoter today. It's already a business case. So we can start from the customer interaction, or we can start from the vision, or we can have a kind of balanced approach. We need the vision to create the competitive advantage. That is the way to start building that. Then we need to kind of align the new way of managing and running the customer experience development. What is the structure around the customer experience kind of a development program? What kind of resources we have there? What are the KPIs? How we measure? Then we come to the processes and tools, of course. What is the customer what are the customer promises and ways of working with the customers? And finally, how are we really going to make the change happening when we meet the customers, whether face-to-face or online? I just want to kind of remind you that there are more and more interaction with customers in online world. Of course, the share of interaction in online world is growing. But at the same time, I've read a study saying that to make the same effect to the customer that we have when meeting face-to-face, we need something like 5 to 7 interactions in online world. So that is also something to think about. How are we going to build the customer journey, and what are the moments that are really relevant for the business, and how to create memorable experiences. Typically what happens, I've been working with the Net Promoter Score 15 years. That is the most loved and hated KPI for customer experience. But customer experience metrics, typically like NPS or customer effort score, they are lacking indicators. So typically what happens is that the management check the NPS result, they wonder why went it up, why did it go down? But instead of just focusing and looking to the NPS result, management should have the KPIs and goals to run the change. And these are the leading indicators. We should define beforehand what are the KPIs and goals that we want to do to make the organization more customer-centric. Just look into the NPS. NPS is not result. We need to be proactive in the management. And when thinking of these elements, these are the areas when defining the goals and metrics for the change management. It is about the knowledge, educating our organization, educating our partners. We need to change the processes. Let's not forget the memorable experiences, how to define the moments with the customers. We need to, of course, plan tools and, of course, technology around that. We need to decide what kind of resources we need to have to make the kind of to deliver the vision that we have defined. And finally, it is about the culture. What kind of culture? What are the goals that we define for the vision? As said earlier, changing the culture takes 5 to 7 years, roughly, so it won't happen overnight. We need to have steps to make that change happen. And finally, last slide for me. Last year, it was together, Bain, Qualtrics, and Kantar, they defined customer experience standards. I think this is kind of nice kind of framework when kind of defining what should we do, how we build the customer-centric organization, how we develop our expertises, in what areas of customer experience we need to work more, and so on. And of course, this helps us to support the implementation. So this is a nice kind of a reminder of how largely customer experience development touched the whole organization. Well, that was my share. I hope that I was able to kind of summarize some of kind of key findings of the challenge of how to make the organization customer-centric.
Yes, thank you so much, Kari. That was short and effective presentation, and I believe it raised it, or it emphasized some very, very good areas. And I would like to remind to our audience that, and also there is already a comment from the audience that it was very insightful, so that's good. But a reminder to our audience that please feel free to write any questions also to the chat, and we will take them then after Kristian's presentation. But right now, then let's head forward to Kristian's presentation. Thank you, Kari.
Yes, thank you, Kari, from my side as well. As usual, always insightful to hear your thoughts here. So building on that narrative now next. So what we'll be talking about next is more about, okay, how to move forward in practice. How do you essentially manage and lead that change? What are kind of like do's and don'ts as well along the way? And especially, we're going to focus on the beginning here. So Kari mentioned that organizational change takes about 5 to 7 years. So do we need to kind of like do we need to prepare in our organization for it to take 5 to 7 years before we see any tangible results? No, but we need to get going, and that's usually the case. What we stumble across is that how to get going, like Kari mentioned as well. So let's look into these, and I'll give you a couple of pointers that you can take home with you when you start to think about the how to start this journey. First, of course, a lot of businesses and organizations in today's world and previously has always, evolved around goals, usually revenue goals, profitability goals, whatever goal suits the organization best. And customer experience related goals are no different, because essentially you need to be able to tie your customer experience, your expected outcomes in customer interactions to your overall business goals. Kari mentioned about working out the values and mission and vision, and utilizing those to actually get them down to the everyday customer interactions as well. And the reason a lot of times you are not really able to effectively utilize this, why do we exist part in customer experience, is that how do I break it down to goals? Something that I can measure, something that is not too, what do you like to call, lukewarm, interpretable in many different ways. You need to kind of like get to something tangible, some number, some percentage, something to start working with. And that's usually the first step, just to get going, just to get kind of like the direction on where we want to go. And the goals also need to be actionable. And in today's world, there's a lot of theory, there's a lot of different frameworks that you can utilize to get that first goal or first goals into place. We're talking about objectives and key results, the SMART system, balanced scorecards. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter which it is, and I believe a lot of you that are now joining this webinar today have some kind of framework in place, and you might not have anything CX related in that framework that you're utilizing or have been utilizing for a lot of years. But first step would be to include a CX goal, and that essentially is your step one, because that also shows from a company point of view that, hey, we take this seriously, and now we have it as a part of our goals moving ahead. We're going to talk a bit about incentivizing as well. Kari mentioned as well that the issue with silos, organizational silos, also has to do with incentivization schemes that are kind of like loose from one another. So it's also important to understand that if we set out goals to be why we can change our organization to be more customer centric, we also need to have the so-called carrots in place to actually reach those goals. And of course, the question always becomes that how do we get the team on board? How do we know that people are understanding that why we're doing this? The return on investment is always a big thing. Kari mentioned the cost savings that your CFOs will love, bring that one up. But also, how do you motivate people to actually deliver the type of customer experiences and outcomes that your organization wishes you to do? And the clear indicator is that people need to understand that what is expected of me. How do I actually, what does that actually mean in my line of work? Soon, when we talk about monitoring, I'll show a couple of examples that, sense of purpose in CX in different functions, they vary a lot. And of course, the sense of purpose and focus also in what to focus on in the day-to-day, that also means that management and leadership needs to be, you need to lead from the front. You need to show that this is how we're going to do it. Some organizations have their management teams doing frontline customer service specific times in the year. Zappos is a great story about their CEO back in the day, and probably still, replying to customer service complaints coming in. So that's kind of the buy-in that, of course, you need to have and show how it's done, essentially, to start leading that change. A goal system, well, you need to have it, of course, in place, because how would you otherwise understand that? How are you trending? Are you kind of like moving towards the correct direction? And always easier to come back and understand what impacts which goal. One big thing is as well, when you set out goals, CX related goals, you also highlight pretty quickly that, okay, what do we need to do in order to achieve those goals? And former chairman of Nokia company, Risto Siilasmaa, used to have a system called future back approach, setting up a goal in the future and then walking back, kind of like to see what do we need to do to reach that goal. Same thing in this line of customer centricity. You need to understand that how well equipped is your organization or processes or something else to actually move towards those goals and hitting those. Then, of course, business outcomes always very important. But business outcomes, it depends a bit on what your starting point will be. Do you have a baseline? Have you been doing some kind of CX goal measurement and approaches previously. So starting with some baseline, taking your time in the beginning to kind of like build a baseline and connect them to business outcomes, or can you track them already? And then you can see from those financial figures as well that if our CX, if we deliver more positive experiences, does it actually translate to business outcomes? So all depends on what your starting point is. And like mentioned previously, utilizing an actionable goal system or a framework. And for instance, I love the OKR system because it's simple enough for everyone in the organization to understand it. It's easy to set up tangible goals in percentage or hard numbers. So the first thing would be to, of course, check inside the organization that do we have any CX related goal in place in all of our different functions, not just the customer facing, but the all different functions. And what I mean by that is that when we look at kind of like the, for lack of a better term, let's call it monitoring, but essentially it means following up, it's leading, managing through numbers. Usually a lot of times, the monitoring and tracking stays at the company level. So if we look here at this company NPS, the black background, red NPS score here. Yes, we're looking at the overall NPS score. This is how we're doing. This is how our organization NPS is tracking. But what very, very often is forgotten is that there are a lot of different layers to that overall NPS. And this is kind of like the first part where a lot of times organizations fail, because understanding that how can I, as an employee in team, let's say in the package or delivery team, in our example here, what is my role to actually achieve, better customer outcomes or higher customer experiences or increasing the NPS? It doesn't really help me to change the way of working or what I focus on if I don't understand what my impact is on the overall scores. And that's why you need to be able to also break it down to team levels, and in that way also that you can utilize the specific data collected to understand your function in the bigger picture. And this is where the leadership comes in really, really heavily. This motivational factor that you can always motivate an organization to change. It's easy to say that, hey, we want to increase our NPS by 12 scores, or we want to generate only trusting emotions throughout the journey. Sure. But how do you actually execute it in the day-to-day, in the operations? That's where you need that data to track those changes and have people also be a part of building that system that, what are we measuring, what are we doing to understand what the customer is actually expecting, and then package it together to higher levels. In some case, of course, again, the kind of like really, really hard CX goals, if we're talking about a specific KPI, in some cases it works to actually break it down to an individual level. Let's say that we would like in our customer support team, we would like the customer effort score to be over 4 for all our individuals, meaning that then each individual giving that support to customers in the first line will track that it will be as easy as possible for customers, so they will be tracking their own score of 4, for instance. But in all cases, it doesn't work. So it kind of like needs to be checked that what am I doing in my role, and how will that impact the experience in that said touch point. And lastly, of course, talking about goals, tracking, utilizing data to lead that change. Today, the kind of like growing of AI, the possibilities that AI is bringing, this is a huge thing because a lot of times one of the challenges to actually manage the change is that we don't have time to crunch data, or our analytics is not the best. So we can utilize that data-driven approach, like Kari also mentioned, and you might have seen in his in Futurelab's research as well, that utilizing data and insights is difficult because it takes time. That's why where AI comes in as well. So in order to generate those actions from the data, start playing around with AI. If you have the data, start playing around with AI and see what kind of outcomes it gives you. It's a great assistant. It's a bad master, but it can help you a lot with saving time, and again, cost saving to actually be more customer centric. Really lastly, just common mistakes to avoid. Usually these cases, overcomplicating things, trying to fix everything. Start somewhere is kind of like the best idea here. Start with something, set up a CX steering group, a CX team that is cross-functional, figure out what you want to get done, and make sure that you avoid those silos from the get-go. And quick wins is always a big thing. And those quick wins also help you engaging the team, finding those knowledge gaps, etc., and making sure that you kind of like prepare the mindset that, hey, this is not something that we're just tracking during this quarter. This is for the next 5 to 7 years, for instance. So showing something tangible from the get-go, that's the way to actually get started with all of this. Thank you for listening, and yeah, Eveli, you want to take over?
Yes, thank you, Kristian, as well, and welcome, Kari, also back to the stage. So please feel free to write any questions to the chat, and I already can see some great comments as well. I will take these comments also to the discussion now very shortly, but as our loyal webinar participants know, then at every webinar, we also provide great free opportunities to help you all improve your CX program. So this time we give to all our webinar participants a special opportunity to have 30-minute free assessment with our today's expert, Kari, to learn what are the possible best next steps in your customer experience strategy and how to convince how your business specifically could convince the management or prove the importance of CX or so on. But let's move on. You can click the button right away, book time, then the link is already open, then you can book the time during the webinar or after it, but also I will then send the link in the follow-up email. Yes, please, Kari, would you like to share something?
Yeah, just a comment. If you book a meeting with me, I promise that I will challenge you. I promise I will deliver some valuable insights, but I will also challenge you. So that's my thoughts on have a meeting with me.
Sounds good. And yeah, probably nothing to lose. Just 30 minutes. Good insights. But let's move on with Q&A. And the first thing that we would like to do is check poll results. We have still about 6 minutes for our Q&A section now. So please feel free to write also more questions. Checking the poll results, then one of the questions was that why has your employer decided to invest in customer experience? The number one right now leading answer is building a competitive advantage. And the second most common is increasing loyalty among existing customers, but nobody has chosen achieving cost savings that you, Kari, brought out. So Is it a shock to see it or a common trend?
No, I think this is kind of a common situation. As said, I mean, competitive advantage, it's really kind of big goal, and that should be the target. But building competitive advantage, it is always compared to the business environment, compared to your competitors, how to differentiate in your business landscape, how to differentiate compared to your competition. So that makes it also kind of a challenge. You need to understand your current state when you talk about building competitive advantage. And I quite often see that customer experience is becoming to the strategy of certain business areas at the same time. Within certain business area, different companies, they find CX at the same time. So that is also a sign that companies are following what the competitors are doing, and they are kind of following that. So I'm not saying that it's bad, but be sure to differentiate from the competition.
Very good. I don't know, Kristian, is there anything that you would like to add to the point or related to the question that why one should invest in customer experience, or why businesses invest in customer experience? And is this cost savings point surprising to you, for example, that it's not chosen at all? And should companies actually think about it?
I would say not that surprising, to be honest. And of course, the thing is always with that, like Kari mentioned, the comparison. How are we comparing to one another? And a lot of our CX KPIs and tracking systems, everything is built to compare to one another. I'm going to simplify my thought a lot. Maybe next time we can have an option saying, because we want to be more customer centric. Because the idea is that then you take away all the other elements and kind of like, we just want to be more customer centric, or we want to, provide the best customer experiences. And the idea is here that, taking away that reasoning behind it, because it'd be really interesting to see or hear about an organization that didn't kind of like think of it that in order for us to generate more profitability, or in order for us to generate revenue, we want to be more, but just deciding that, hey, let's be more, let's see where it takes us. Be really in today's world, really interesting approach.
Yes, and actually,
that is a good comment, because it's kind of a journey that you select. This is a journey that we're going to go together.
Yeah. And I would like to jump into one of the most wanted questions in this webinar, probably because our audience has chosen that they would really like to learn how to prove the importance of customer experience. So I would like to hear your thoughts on this as well. And also keeping in mind that we did receive a comment that sometimes, or in a situation where company actually does good, it is really difficult to convince that now we need to focus on customer experience. Usually if company does bad, it's easy to start searching for options and convince that, hey, now we need to focus on customer experience because this is how we beat our competitors as well. But so please, I don't know, Kari, please first, how to prove the importance of CX?
Well, I think the easiest way to do that is to show to the management the customer feedback, verbatim saying, really kind of showing the kind of striking feedback that you get from customers. They are really kind of expressing the feelings. I think that is really important, that customers are, whether it's a business to business or business to consumer, customers are sharing the feelings in their feedback. So utilize that, share that with the top management, get them to understand that this is not about processes, this is not about this or that. Most important thing is that customers are really not interested in about your company. Companies think that customers are thinking their operations, their businesses all the time. No, customers are really not interested about the company. They are interested about interaction, the value that they create, or the emotion that they create. Let's share the emotions that are created when interacting with customers, with top management, and have a shared understanding from the top management. That is the crucial thing.
Kristian, please. Anything to add?
I agree. Nothing much to add, and maybe just a small kind of like, let's not water down. Let's not kind of like water down the feedback or the sentiment of the customers to kind of like suit a narrative when you're taking to the top level. So kind of like really closing the gap on how close management is to the actual customer sentiment, meaning spending time with customers, talking to customers, or reading that feedback, in this case, like Kari mentioned. So not trying to in the midst of kind of like taking that feedback or those sentiments up the ladder, as we say, not trying to build a narrative to suit better, but instead be kind of like transparent as well.
Yeah, and maybe if your business is measuring feedback, then you could connect feedback with business data, metadata, and you can actually then prove and show that if your customers feel bad or if they give you certain type of feedback, then this directly has impact on your business outcome or conversions of your e-commerce store. And this way you can also like talk with KPIs and with numbers actually, and to prove it. That has been also one of the points that has been a lot brought up in our previous webinars actually as well. And good, we have actually run out of time right now, but the very last question, a very short answer from both of you. What now our audience could do first, tomorrow, today, perhaps already, to take another step toward customer centricity? How to get started, or if they are maybe at the beginning somewhere already, how to evaluate what could be the best next step. Of course, it's good to meet Kari to evaluate it together with him, but now in general, for the audience, Kari again, please.
Well, one important thing is to let's move a detractor to become a promoter starting today, one by one. That is the most simple way of improving the customer experience and effect to the business also. Moving one detractor to become neutral or promoter today. So that would be the best possible start. It is not just numbers, it is not about the audience, it is one customer at a time.
Mm-hmm. With the help of customer feedback, you can evaluate it then, right? Yes. And then Kristian, please.
I have two things. First thing, book a meeting with Kari. So do that, because that's the first thing to do. Second thing, this is usually something I talk with customers as well. Check the company strategy, values, and vision statement. Is customer mentioned there in any form? If yes, good starting point. If no, figure out why. That's a good starting point.
Mm-hmm. Good, but these are now good last tips. We already have a theory discussion ongoing also in chat. That's nice to see. Our audience is always so engaged and active. That's nice to see. But thank you so much, our dear audience, today for another great webinar. Thank you, Kari. Thank you, Kristian, for joining me today.
Thank you.
And I will share the slides, the recording, and useful materials also, as usual, over email during this week to the audience, and hopefully we'll find many good ideas, thoughts that help to take your CX programs to the next level from there as well. But thank you so much, everybody, and see you again in our April webinar at the end of April. Or sorry, March is first. So let's take March webinar first. Hopefully we'll see in March, but more about this coming soon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.